Hello, welcome to Diggers Outdoors. I think what we're going to do today is we're going to go over a little bit, just a quick overview of my antique tool collection. Why am I doing this? Because I've done this before, and my collection has expanded since by a large margin, but still not a huge collection of things. But it has expanded. We'll just leave it at that. But some of these tools, when the power goes out, you can use these. A lot of these, not all of them, granted, not all of them, you can pack and take out in the woods with you as well. And we're going to be doing that here in the near future with some of these. Not all of them, but with some of these. And try to figure out where to start from. And some of these are not that new. I mean, not that old either. There's a couple of these I just kind of threw in here just to show you what's out there and what's still out there. One of the first things I'm going to start with, now this is a newer, this is an S-wing hand axe with a stacked leather handle on it. This one is fairly new. Why am I showing you this? Because they're making this same model way back in the day. A friend of mine has one of these that's about 30 or 40 years old. Still uses it. And this one I just got last year. So, if it's tried and true, and it's still out there, maybe it's worth a look-see. Another one, newer one, that I got is this. Now people kind of get a little, this blue handle here, people kind of get a little put off by that because it's a quote-unquote fiberglass handle. But what I found with this is the metal doesn't stop here. This metal here, up here, and this is a one-piece construction, goes the whole way through down to here. So if this fiberglass handle happens to break, you can get that fiberglass handle off and still use it. So, just a couple options just to be aware of. And as we're looking at axes here, now this, see if I can read it here. Yeah, just want to make sure I got this right here. This is made by the Bridgecore Corporation for Boy Scouts of America. And this, I do believe, was one of the first scout axes that you could buy. This is the condition I got this one in. Has a little bit of rust on it, and that's okay. I'm probably going to eventually put an edge on this thing again. Whether it's rusty or not, I'm not sure. Let me get a little bit closer to the camera. Because you can tell, I think someone had an edge on this thing not too long ago, because you can tell by that rolled over edge up here. So there was a handle put on it, but if you take a look at it, I don't know how well you can see in the camera, that whole ramp for that blade is pitted. But it shouldn't take too much to get this back and get this back in working order. And just to show you, Bridgeport right there, if you see right there, that's the Boy Scouts of America logo. Back on the table if it belongs. Another hand axe I got is this. Now you may say it's a shingler's axe, and you will be correct. These will work. Maybe not the most desirable, but they will work, and you can turn these into whatever, because these things are fairly cheap. I got this at a yard sale for $2. I see a lot of people making quote-unquote Viking axes out of these things. They'll take this part down here, and they'll cut like a half moon up into it, leave the hammer pole on it, and the reason they do that is so they can choke up on this thing, really choke up on it like that and use it for fine work. which, that's the other thing, this thing has a straight blade on it. If you look at all those other hatches, they have a slightly curved blade. As a matter of preference, the straight blade is more for like shingle, smaller stuff, finer stuff. That rounded blade will cut a little bit better. But to some people, they like these straight blades, so each their own. I'm talking about handle stuff, and I heard a couple other people talking. The handle on this one I bought new, but the head has been around forever. And what this is an old masonry hammer. And I've done a video on this before, just a quick overview. You can use this thing. This is a multi-tool in my hand right now. And there is no other parts with it. I've used this to dig with. You use this for masonry work, of course. I've used this to dig with. I use it as a pry bar. It's a hammer. Turn it sideways, especially if this is the digging tool you got. Turn it sideways, you use it as a rake. I've reached down like this, hooked stuff, picked it up, so it can extend your reach as well. So there's a ton of different uses for this out in the field. It's just what your imagination comes up with. Myself, I use it as a digging tool. I'm not going to hurt this hammer. This thing's used to banging on bricks, so digging in dirt is not going to hurt this thing too much at all. Plus, has a little bit of a bevel here. I don't keep it too sharp, but I could bevel this and use some chop roots, or maybe do some fine chopping tasks if I had to. Not that I would, but if I had to, I can make a blade out of that as well. While we're talking about bladed stuff, just a wedge. Now this thing needs to be cleaned up, but I have used this. I've used this actually a fair bit, even without sharpening the edge on it. Used it a fair bit. We chopped down a tree, stacked the wood up, never got around to splitting it, and it checked. So I was doing that, sitting that wedge in the check, then taking just a regular 2-pound hand sledge and driving it down through, and I was splitting wood with it. You'll be surprised how easy it is. But this price tag's one. I bought this for $2. And talking about buying heads, did have I can't find it now, but I did have the writing on this at one point in time. It needs cleaned up, but double-bitted axe head, $1 at an antique mall. You have to look, and with your antique malls, you have to kind of look around. Some of them, when they see the rust on it or see something like that, they're going to charge you big bucks for it. Some of the other ones are going to try to move it as fast as they can. And the thing to look for, if you're going to an antique store or an antique mall, look at the way everything's laid out in it. That's the one thing I found. If you go in and everything is nice and organized and what have you, they're probably going to want more than what you're probably willing to pay. But if you go into one that looks like literally just piles of stuff everywhere, most of those are not going to gouge you. In fact, the antique store I went to, when I got this one, they didn't even know they had it. Let's put it that way. It was like, guy goes, give me $1 for it, just get it out of my hair. Sold. Some of the other things I found in antique finds. Old wooden mallet. Useful for many things. Mostly woodworking, working with chisels. Which we got this thing here, I got to clean this one up. A lot of these I have to clean up yet, but got this. Nice little round chisel here. Not a scoop chisel. Scoop chisel will come and do one of these deals. This is just a straight round chisel. So, but I got the slipstones and stuff. I can clean it up. Still have to get a cap for the top of it. Not exactly sure what I'm going to use for that yet. I do have some ideas though. But put a cap on it. clean this up, sharpen it up, she'll be good to go too. Now I'm going to show you something that I don't think many of you folks ever seen before. I found one that's still in, I wouldn't say good shape, but serviceable. This is a ball. Kind of looks like a funky bowling pin. And if you take a look at all the marks around it, this thing's been used for all kinds of stuff. And looking at the marks, I would actually venture to say probably throw work. Because this is not even sure what kind of wood it is, but this is a fairly heavy piece of wood. I mean, this thing probably weighs about 1.5 pounds on its own. But this is an original ball that you can buy in a store, not one made out in the field, which you can make one of these out in the field without a doubt. But finding one that was store-bought, that survived, that wasn't broken in half, that's kind of a rarity. Going across the table here, and they've got a couple throws. Talk about throws without maul. Here's one, here's the other one. This one needs a little bit of work, the head's a little bit loose on this, and this has been sitting a while. You can probably see, even from there, how pitted that is. You listen to that, that blade's loose. Probably have to maybe re-wedge it, do whatever, get this back serviceable. This one, I drove a wedge and that handle ain't going anywhere. This one's still a little pitted up too. I did run the wire wheel on it, so this does have a little bit of machine to it, unlike this one. But both of these are very savable and still very usable. These guys here, not exactly sure if these were a store prop or these were used. I have a leatherworking friend, she makes saddles. She's a saddle maker, she makes tack. And she has a couple pairs this big, just for the fact that you're only going to open them up about that far, but the leverage you have to cut 10-ounce leather or heavier, she goes, is invaluable. So as you try cutting out your normal pair of fiskars, you're going to break your hand or break your scissors, one of the two. I do have a couple mechanical tools here as well. A little adjustable wrench. Now what this would come in handy for out in the field, I don't know, but one of these little wrenches, it's kind of nice to have. Nice little addition to the collection. And I can see why I got sold this. If you look here, there's a big gap in here. So that would have to be trued back up, if you could true it back up. But still a very interesting little deal here. What else have I got here? I've got braces and bits out the wazoo. We'll start with these two guys here. And these are both square drive ratcheting braces. And the reason they're ratcheting is these are designed to be used with auger blades, which I don't have any down here right now, but I do have auger blades, and I'm going to allude back to those here in a little bit. But the reason these are ratcheting, see which one of these have the free ratchet stuff on. And that'd be that one there. The reason these are ratcheting is we've got a hold of this. Turning the right way. Right there. You can constantly hear that thing ratcheting. Once you get an auger in there, you get that thing bottom out and it starts doing its work, especially your bigger augers, you can constantly stay in your power part of the stroke. Once you get past here, you're not really going to have any more power until you get to the pool. Then you start ratcheting and ratcheting it on down through your workpiece. Along with those, I've got these two braces as well. Now, all four of these run a square drive, so I can use an auger in these, not that it's very practical unless it's a smaller auger, or I can use regular drill bits. And the way these are designed is they don't have a chuck on them. You tighten these things as tight as you can get them by hand. But these, direction ones not so much. These could possibly go in a pack, if you would be so inclined. Now there's some easier things to use other than these in the field if you want to drill holes. We're getting to those. And these, I have two of these, one here, one here. They both have the 3-pin drill vices in them, but these are 2-speed hand drills. This one matches this one, and this one's for parts for this one in case something would fail on this one. This one is complete. But you've got 2 speeds. If you look at this gear here, you've got this outer ring and you have an inner ring here of teeth. One side's going to be for torque, the other side's going to be for speed. And in order to change these, there's a button right here. You press this button, you can pull out the gear. It comes out that easy. Press this button, put the gear back in. Now you're on torque. But if you look at this, I have to clean it up, but there's a level built into it, and you can take these screws out, pull the level off, clean the level off, put it back in. But these are all designed to come apart. So if I break the vise, or this one has a handle, this one doesn't. But if I break this handle, break a gear, I got all those extra parts here. That's why I don't get rid of this one. I had another one of these I gave to somebody else, but it's a different design. And none of the parts would interchange with this. So I'm trying to stay with the ones I can interchange parts with for these. But these are a very neat, very functional deal here. Now this here could either be, and you could turn this, it can either be a rest your shoulder. A lot of people turn it sideways, get their work out here in front of them, hold it with both hands, get their chest on it, make them lean into it, and make themselves into like a human drill press. Whether here or like that. But as I alluded to packable, not very packable. This would be something that you would leave back here at the homestead. Getting into more hand drills, I got a whole plethora of them here. I got this little guy here. Very packable though. Takes up a lot less room than a racing bit or one of these big guys. Very packable. Not the best option, in my opinion, with what I have. Now, some people, this would be the perfect option, especially if you have a way to carry your drill separately. We're going to address that here. There's also got this guy, a little bit longer. A little longer. You can tell this guy needs to oil it up a little bit, but it's a little bit longer. Got the handle on it. This one doesn't have the handle. This one does. Longer arm than that one does. So you got more torque to play with here. But again, packable, not my favorite option. This is about the same thing as the last one, but there's a difference here. This one has a hollow handle. It's not that deep, nothing in it. But we're getting closer. Because this is a stiff unit. Handle's about the same length as the last one I showed you. So you get about the same speed out of it. Now I'm going to show you the one that I have that I would probably carry in the woods with me to pack. Now it's a little bit heavier, but it's a lot more versatile. So we got this guy here. Now there's no side, so you have to hold it up here. So there we go, we're drilling. Now I'm going to show you why it's more versatile. There's a switch right here. Pull that back and it loosens this up. So let's put this 90 degrees. There's also a thumb screw here. We're going to loosen this up. And put that at 90 degrees. So if I wanted to, I could drill like this. So it has versatility built into it. So let's say you want to drill something where maybe there's a branch here or something, you can't get this in exactly the way you want it to. You can adjust this till you can. So let's straighten this guy back up. It doesn't take much. Almost. Got it every time. Okay. Almost there. There it is. Okay, we're straight up and down there. We're going to hit this switch here again. We're going to straighten this up. Now, switch isn't spring loaded, so you have to push it and pull it. But the reason I would use this, now it's a little bit heavier, it has this piece, it's been modified. It has this piece of copper tubing up here up top with a screw tab on it. Now how they put it in here, it's not welded. I think it's either a friction fit or this is threaded, and these accepted that. But the reason I would take is this particular one in my pack if I had to. Because let's face it, this is going to take up a little bit more room than you may want to, or a little bit more room than you think it should. But if you want to make holes, just saying. But when I bought this, the cap came off easily. And I found all those inside. So my whole drilling is all self-contained. In 1 year. So I don't have to go looking for a bag, go looking for this, go looking for that. Everything's in 1 year. Mm-hmm. Everything's in one place. And for my hand drills, this is by far probably my favorite. Just because of its uniqueness and its versatility. One thing I got here, I'm going to readjust the camera here, so I'm going to keep talking, readjust the camera. See what we're looking at here. So I'm picking up the stuff and showing it to you. So, how do I want to do this? I'm going to turn it down to the tables. There's some things I'm not going to really pick up off the table. I'm just going to show them to you real quick. In fact, I'm going to try to get up on them just a little bit. Come down on them. I have 3 rivet sets here. 3 different styles of rivet sets. These are all made to be bolted onto a work surface, whether a workbench or what have you. We've got this one, and we've got these 2. For repairs on the homestead, those will come in handy, especially if you're working with leather. That's what these did. They set leather rivets. We've got the hand drills here. You also see this big T-handle auger. Now, packing something like this would be very impractical, but there is a way to pack your auger bits and make a T-handle out of some black pipe. I will allude to that probably, well, I won't say allude, but I'll probably provide a link to that in the description to where somebody did make, David Cantuerbury did one of those. And while we're talking about leather work, We also got this guy here. This is the leather punch. Now, she's seen some better days if you look at it, but it would still work. And the best part about it is usually when you punch leather, when this thing fills up, you have a hard time getting it empty. This has a slot in the side, so whatever leather pucks you got left in there, you can pop them out right through that hole, which makes things nice and easy. Some other things I got. Old Craftsman Square. Now, they still sell this. They still sell this. This still slides up and down. I'd like to eventually clean up this roller. I have another one of these because I have two of these rollers, but one of these. And the reason I got two of these rollers is the first one of these I had. When I tried to move it, I didn't see it was cracked and it broke. So I got two of these. Well, two of the rollers, but only one of the square pieces. The other thing I have an old level. Just an old level and a piece of wood. This is how they used to be sold. And it works very well. But looking at this, it looks like these are kind of nailed in or pinned in. It's not a screw. But we're gonna take another look at this guy here. This is a 2-inch. And as I said, I got it just because I could get it. I got this thing cheap. I got it for like $5. But get this thing up and going. It could be a very useful tool if, like, let's say you're pegging a barn together or something like that. Not that I would want to go winding this through a piece of hand-hewn timber, but if you had to, I got the means to do it. Getting into some more packable stuff, let's say you want to make dimensional lumber or put a smooth side on your lumber, one way to do it would be with one of these planks, still a packable item. This is a Union 110, so now there is a problem with it for working in the woods or whatever. And the reason why I got sold so cheap is on the shoe here. If you look right there, there's a chip taken out of that shoe. That should be of no consequence. I still should be able to use it without a problem. Some of the other things before we get into the multi-tools, the spoke shave. And yes, this is a piece of pool noodle. Just for transportation and for some other things like putting it in my pack or whatever. I find it's just easy just to do this right now, then just let it flop around loose, especially with a blade. But this is a spoke shave. Smaller pieces of wood, I can sit there, work them down. This is for fine work, not heavy work. This is for fine work. Shaping your spokes, shaping anything round, working on things like that. Which brings me into draw knives. We're going to start with this guy here. And this guy here, yeah, another piece of pool noodle that I used as a sheath. It does the trick. Don't laugh, it works. Get all this off. And we got this guy here. Just a nice little draw knife. Very packable draw knife though. And this is what I might make a leather sheath or leather mask for. They'll wrap around it and snap in place. Just so it takes up less room than, let's say, this. But workable. I can do all kinds of stuff with this. And the steel that this is made of, don't think it's as stainless, but it's not as much carbon as like a high carbon steel. Or I should say it has a little bit of chromium in it, just enough maybe somewhere between high carbon and D2. But this would be a nice little draw knife. You can do some heavier work with this. Again, all depending on what kind of work you want to do. This sucker probably can handle at least 3/4, if not 90% of it, until you get up into the heavy stuff. And we're gonna go with one that's just a little bit finer before we get into the bigger ones. Set that guy there. Oh, it's a finer. This little guy here, this would be another version of a spoke shave. Actually has two blades on it. There's a blade back here, and a blade up, and a blade here. So I could use it like this, or I could use it like this. And you do this, or you do this, or this, or what have you. You're still going to be drawing this thing back to you. But all these ones I showed you here so far, I think the most expensive one was maybe $10. And this one here, and the next one I'm going to show you were actually family heirlooms from my mother's side. They were my great-grandfather's prongs. Here's the one. This one's a flat blade, used for heavy work, and I've used this thing quite a few times, much to some of my relatives' dismay, because it's an antique. My great-grandmother said, yeah, maybe an antique, but it's also a tool. Use it. So there's the one. Here's the other one. And this one has a slight curve to it. This would be like for making a seat. Now, if you take a look at that cross here, there's a slight curve that comes through here. This would be one of the draw knives we do use to make a seat, and you can see it has two different handles on it. In fact, this one comes off. So I may have to take a hammer and kind of drive this one back on a little bit. But both of these would be more for your heavier work. I use a smaller flat one most of the time. I haven't used this one too much as of yet, but I haven't had to make a shallow depression as of yet either. So I set that one over there. Now this one I got off the guy down the street. Now this is a hay knife. People might tell you this is a fro. It is not a fro. This metal down here is way too thin to be a throw. This is this sheet metal down here, and you can hear it. You do that to one of those throws there, you hear clank, clank, clank. Not that thing ringing out like that. So, but I got this for a decent price. It's a hay knife. I do like agricultural history. What I would use this for, I have no idea. But it's kind of nice to have this. Now this guy here, which I haven't mounted to anything yet, I haven't figured out how I want to mount this to anything yet. But this is a version of a stock knife. Small stock knife, but I can use this for making spoons. The way this thing's mounted on here. In fact, to be honest with you, at one point in time, looking at this, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a board that went on this, and this is a paper cutter. But I could probably use this for wood as well, as long as I don't get too crazy with it. Look how thick the spine of that blade is. So yeah, I could probably get away with using this. Mount this to the stump somehow back there at Solitude, so I could sit there and start shaping stuff. I have options with this, but I thought it was a neat piece, and this was all about, I think the price tag's still on it actually. Nope, it's gone. But I think this is all about $2. Another thing I got, not that I'll be using it anytime soon, but if you had to, you could. This is a soldering iron. This is where soldering iron started at. You stuck this sucker in the fire, heated it up with a torch, did your soldering on your electricity. Once it cooled off, reheat, go back to work again. But very, I won't say unique, but it's kind of neat to see where some of these tools started from. And we're just about done here, so bear with me. Now this is an oil bottle for an AK-47. Why do I have it? Why is it here? Well, somewhat of an antique, maybe, yes, no. But what I can do with this is I want to boil, this still has some gun oil left in it. I can boil the sucker out, clean it out, check both sides of this. Clean this out, and I can put this in my pack, because this thing's pretty much, that's been sitting on my shelf like this for the longest time, and none of the oil that's left that it came out. So this thing is fairly airtight, watertight, however you want to call it, but I would put the oil in here to take care of whatever tools I take out in the field with me, whether it be my knife, my axe, any of these, what have you. And I would probably use, laugh if you want, garlic oil. Not garlic oil, olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil. You can get it fairly cheap. I have a bottle of it upstairs already that I use on some of my stuff as well. Because the tools maybe not so much, but your knife, possibly your axe, and some other things, you might be using that for food processing. So why would you put a petroleum product on that? Just saying. Now I'll get to these. This, and this are all multi-tools. And all of these still have all the tools that go with them. Some of them better shape than others. Now this one is not in the greatest of shape. Some stuff on it's bent, what have you. I do have one here that we'll probably go through all the tools on. Just show you that I have all the tools for all of these. Even when they fall out like that. So, there's all the tools for this one. And the reason I'm a little careful with those two smaller ones is the handles don't fit on them that great. This one, on the other hand, this is the first one of these I got. I got this for $25, and it needs wiped down a little bit, cleaned up a little bit, but has a couple scratches on it, but this thing is in great shape. The vise works down here really good. And let's take a look at what kind of tools are in this thing. And one thing about it is this thing also has this in the end of it. That is a brass cap. So if you had to strike this, you could. I wouldn't strike it hard, but if you had to strike it, you could. Just for some of the tools that are in here. Take a look at this. And all these tools are a square drive. Here's the awl, four-sided, got the point on it. I can make a round hole up to there. Got a flat chisel. Two different styles, maybe even three different styles of flathead screwdrivers. A round chisel. Like, check out this guy. Got a little saw blade in it. We have a pick in there. Actually, I think this is another smaller screwdriver or a small chisel, take your pick. It does have some of a blade on the end of it. And a quasi-drill auger deal here. If you take a look at this right there, there's this little thread deal up here on the top. You start that into your wood that you're working with, and then that drill portion on there will take over. Once you get there, it will drill your hole for you. While the thread end keeps pulling it down through. And all that fits right into there. So, as I said, this is a multi-tool. It's all self-contained. Now, it's not like your Gerber or your, not like your Gerber or your Leatherman or any of those, but still, this is a very multifunctional piece of kit and does not really take up that much room in your pack. And as I said, on down the line here as we go, because I'm trying to revitalize this again, work's been absolutely nuts. But I'm trying to revitalize this page again. Figure start with this and we'll go from there. We're going to be using some of these things in the field up at Solitude. Sorry about that, need a drink. Oh, I just forgot about one thing here. A 2-set for a saw. This would be like for your larger saws, your buck saws, things of that nature. Like the buck saws were used back in the day to actually saw the wood when they did any lumberjack or they did any logging. It'd be a bigger version of these, but this would be used on your 1 and your 2-man bucks to saw those logs to length before they get sent downriver to be cut in sawmill to size. But that's what this is. This helps move your blade one way or the other. This would be like every other blade you move this way, every other blade you move this way, and that dictates your curve. Plus you have rakers that are going to be straight up and down in between each one of those teeth, and that helps keep that curve clean and keep you cutting. So, just a crash course on what I got here. I do thank you for watching. If you like what you see, throw me a like. Please share and subscribe as well. I appreciate the views. I love you all, and I'll talk to y'all later. See ya.